I'll play when his recorded thoughts on this and why Avatar is now in contention here. So let's get into it, but we got to start it off slow.
Before I turn this over to Christine, a few comments about the quarter. James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water, which was easily the most successful film of the quarter, has become the fourth biggest film of all time globally, with close to $2.2 billion earned at the box office to date. The global popularity of this film will result in the creation of more opportunities for fans to engage with the franchise, which they've been doing at Walt Disney World's Pandora, the world of Avatar, as well as in theaters globally and on Disney Plus, where the first film has delivered very strong numbers. And today, I'm thrilled to announce that we will be bringing an exciting Avatar experience to Disneyland. We'll be sharing more details on that very soon.
See, Avatar. There you go.
Now, this guy up here, folks, has been adamant that you can put Avatar in Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a lot of people giving him shit over it, but I tell you what, it's coming whether you like it or not.
I'm telling you, and it's that motorboat Autopia sub area. It straddles Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, which is perfect for a franchise like Avatar, which straddles the future and fantasy beautifully. And it also, one of the big concerns with fans is if we get rid of the sub lagoon, we're going to lose the aesthetics of the lagoon. I think people are more concerned about the aesthetics than the actual attraction going away. You put anything Pandora or Avatar in that spot, you're not losing aesthetics, you're gaining aesthetics. Well, that's going to be definitely a plussing for that whole area. I think that's the spot they're looking at. Now, a lot of fans are worried because, Iger said Avatar experience. They're kind of like their brains kind of go into like, oh, it's going to be something kind of shoehorned into like
it's going to be a photo op.
Yeah, or ESPN or like ESPN's or something. Like I'm going to tell you right now, meet and greets and little things like that do not get announced at quarterly earnings calls. Correct. Okay, he would not bring this up if it was some sort of 3D, 4D crappy film thing, right? Or a meet and greet. This is not going to be, he would not bring it up and like really highlight it at this earnings call. Number one. And number two, James Cameron is not about that. James Cameron would never sign off on a half-ass measure. If James Cameron, if he gave his stamp of approval, this is going to be a significant thing. It's probably going to be some kind of technological marvel. Cameron always goes big. And every single time, this thing is not going to be on the cheap. It's going to be a big deal. I really do believe that. Now, whether that's a land, which I think it will be, or just maybe a really, really immersive, just a standalone attraction, we'll see how it pans out. But this is not going to be just a 4D film. I'm telling you that right now. James Cameron would not sign off on that.
Disney had to throw out the stilts and the blue war paint.
Yes, no, exactly. Yes, James Cameron doesn't do anything by half measure. In fact, it was the Imagineers who were holding back James Cameron more than it was James Cameron holding back the Imagineers. I mean, his mind just flies. And so, but the Imagineers have been very, very excited about expanding the world of Pandora in Walt Disney World itself, right? And it was James Cameron himself who was saying, hey, let's just wait. Let's just see what, these sequel films that I can produce actually do produce in terms of visuals and in terms of engaging experiences for guests that they can actually experience in the theme park. Let's see what comes out of this before actually, doing an expansion for Pandora at Walt Disney World. But remember when in 2011, when the Avatar and the relationship between James Cameron and Disney was officially announced initially, right? That was stated at the time to be, hey, this isn't just coming to Walt Disney World, this is coming to parks all around the world. And so this, let's say, 12 years later, this is a fulfillment of that promise, right? But it fills a couple of holes for Bob Iger. For one, obviously, you do need to continue to invest in your parks. What better way to do that than with the hottest franchise out right now, Avatar, right? Marvel is taking a little bit of a turn. Star Wars has been taking a turn, but Avatar, it's got big sequels coming out. The last one was a big hit. let's go ahead and invest in that. But also, too, what supplants his legacy better than actually capitalizing off of his last biggest purchase in the form of a 21st Century Fox, right? That acquisition, right? A lot of people have been criticizing Iger for a long time. What benefits are we reaping from that? You know, it's too big of an investment. Where are the goods that come from that purchase? Well, what better way to do that than to actually build something right here at Disneyland Anaheim, and where he can be giving his next round of interviews for when he actually unceremoniously leaves the company in 2025 now, right? 2024, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah.
He loves doing interviews with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. She feels that really does that supplanted his legacy at that time. Well, now Pandora might be that place. So again, it kind of fills all of those boxes.
And just as I mentioned to you on the phone, Dre, that after the fact that they put this in Disneyland, whether it's a brand new experience because it's to promote the Way of Water and what have you, while Iger's also notorious that not build one, build two, and
Right.
where else could they put that as an expansion? Well, why not throw it right in Animal Kingdom?
That's it. That's exactly. So it really does kind of check a lot of those boxes. And again, you know, it's a quality over quantity. It's about with the limited capex we have, with the limited resources that we have, what's the biggest bang for the buck? Avatar fits that bill in so many ways. And again, Disneyland, I don't think is alone here. I would say look for major announcements, maybe from Tokyo, right? Who we'd also hear from Christine Wastelands McCarthy. She said that the royalty fees from the Oriental Land Company going to Disney were actually increased. It's interesting. We were doing the math on this, OG, and about 40 years ago, that's when Tokyo Disneyland actually opened, right?
Right.
Well, it's been about 40 years, right? Since 1983 when Tokyo Disneyland first opened. Maybe those rights actually came up for renewal, and it looks like Disney actually got a little bit more from Oriental Land Company than they've ever had. And it might explain some of the initiatives that the Oriental Land Company and Tokyo Disney Resort is experiencing right now, but that's a whole nother story. Avatar at Disneyland. Come on, you got to be excited.
Oh, it's crazy. And I really don't think this is going to be like a clone or even an attempt at a clone of what we see in Animal Kingdom. Look, James Cameron, we have a lot of movies coming out. We just have Way of Water, which was a fantastic movie, which not only was it a fantastic movie, it turned me into an Avatar fan. I didn't even like the first movie. I loved Way of Water. And I am now a fan. I'm now invested. I want to see part 3 now. But they've even said like recently that there's a whole tribe of fire Na'vi coming in some of these sequels and stuff. So there's a lot of material you can pull from, because remember, these lands take years to build. So they might pull stuff from Avatar films that we don't even know, like, maybe part 3 or part 4. We just don't know. So it'll be very interesting to see what version of Avatar we get over at Disneyland. But I'm calling it now. I really do believe it'll be in that Autopia motorboat submarine lagoon area.
I don't know. That seems a bit far-fetched. I mean, that's like saying you're going to stick Star Wars in Disneyland. I mean, come on.
Right.
That's,
come on. We're going to fit it, George.
That?
Yeah.
We're going to fit it, bro. They can't fit behind the rivers of America or anything. That's what fans told me.
Yeah, it's like they'd have to rewrite the whole water path and everything.
What,
it's like,
oh, come on. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Do trust me, bro. I think reiterated like the motorboat cruise area. Like that's where the last big expansion pad is. That's where they're kind of circling. I believe in that context we were talking about maybe the possibility of Tron, but that area right there, everybody knows that is
it's prime real
estate for something, right? And you could, I mean, people are kind of worried about the submarine lagoon or the submarine voyage itself. I could see how you could integrate the submarine voyage into a Way of Water type experience, right? So,
yeah, you get to see the underwater creatures like in Pandora,
the whales,
yes,
all that kind of stuff. I could see it. So, let your mind race with that. But I do agree with you, OG. I don't think it will necessarily be a duplication of the world of Pandora as it exists at Walt Disney World. I do think it's going to take on
and I hope
a
not.
different identity.
I hope it is a different identity, because that way it'll drive people to say, you know what, to see this version of Pandora, go to Walt Disney World. To see this version, go to Disneyland. And if you actually look at the overall scope of The Way of Water, it is a completely different landscape than it is to the first film.
Oh yeah.
Think of Pandora as it exists at Animal Kingdom as kind of what the Hogsmeade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think of this as Diagon Alley. You know, that's kind of the way I would think of it in my mind. Same franchise, but different stories to be told.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm very, very interested in this. Now, it was interesting because Scott Gooston, again, credit to him, he was saying that I guess in this call that Iger said that we're going to hear more details on this new Pandora experience or Avatar experience very soon. My prediction is probably that annual shareholders
meeting.
You think so?
That's I think that's in April.
April 3rd.
Probably there.
Excuse me. I was trying to look for venues of which they could actually bring some of this information out. You might be correct, and that is a visual presentation as much as it is a earnings call like this. But go ahead, George. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think that would be an appropriate time for the shareholders meeting, and then it's a day before Tron opens, because Tron opens April 4th. So it's around the way, and also Destination D will be held this year because it goes every other year opposite of the expo.
Usually it's November, right?
It's usually November, but this time I believe they're holding it in the fall. I think it's going to be before winter time, so it's actually going to be a couple months before it's usually held, and it's going to be held at Walt Disney World still in the Fantasia Ballroom at the Contemporary. So I'm kind of wondering maybe.
I have no doubt additional details might be shared there, but I think they want to get out ahead of that.
Absolutely. I think more so the shareholders is going to announce more for it, and then they'll add a little bit extra.
I think we heard from some people on Diz Twitter. Oh, get your fun now with Tron, because after Tron, there's going to be a lack of investment, right, for the parks division. We don't have any big projects. What better way to strike that narrative than to bring out some details regarding Avatar at Disneyland?
And I think it's kind of funny with Avatar is this is the one project from Imagineering that it never had a typical announcement wrap, so to speak. It was never held just to say, okay, we'll make this big announcement. The first Pandora for Walt Disney World got announced after the fact of the expo.
Yep, I was there at that expo.
Yeah,
it would have been nice.
I was. That one was bad.
I honestly, guys, I've been stood up at this expo with an expo announcements for so many years. I have lost all faith on getting any decent information at the expos anymore. I don't even at this point. I'm like, you know what? I don't care.
Come on. What if? What if for the villains? What if for Encanto? What if for Coco? I mean,
Wouldn't it be great if we could do these things? Oh, yeah.
Now here's one thing that I do want to say though. That's interesting. Bob Iger actually has on God. I know I'm gonna.
God, I sound like a Bob Iger dick rider.
I know I'm gonna come off like that right now, but I gotta say it. Leading up to Bob Chapek kind of running the parks, Bob Iger as CEO has had a really good track record with the parks. If you look at what the projects on his watch before Chapek took over in 2015, we had DCA 2.0, Cars Land. Pandora, I think, opened in 2016, but it was definitely in the works before.
It was in, yeah.
I mean, even Galaxy's Edge, was kind of in before Chapes and all that. for the most part, Bob Iger has a very solid track record with these parks. We've seen he's not afraid to spend money. We've seen that a lot of these projects have turned out really, really well. Now, look, once Chapes took over, we got, the Pixar piers and the kind of the jankier looking shit, right? But prior to that, I mean, before that,
people worked on that. OG, come on!
I'm so sorry. But before that, we got some. I think Iger's track record with the parks was really solid. Chapes is out of the company now, right? And Iger's legacy is on the line. I'm telling you, these projects are going to be good. I'm sorry. And I think that's why he had this little morning chat with Tomorrow, right, because he kind of had to put him into play, so to speak, because during the time when you had just mentioned about Cars Land and DCA 2.0 that Dre and I, again, we were on the phone. Seems like no matter what, Dre is he's on the phone with somebody.
It's weird, right?
That Tom Staggs was chairman of the parks, and he had a lot of his fingerprints on that as well, with Iger. So I think now Iger has to kind of reset Tomorrow to kind of have that same mindset to say, you're not working with Chapek now, you're working with me.
Well, and D'Amaro has said, to his credit, he's said that capital expenditures won't stop on his watch, that he's going to be pushing for quality, that he's going to be pushing for new expansions and new additions and so forth. And well, we haven't really seen the fruit of that up until this point. I like how Bob Iger was the one that did it, right? And yes, this will be done under Josh D'Amaro's watch, but it will have originated as a Bob Iger project. The venue and the way it was announced and so forth. So it's a very interesting kind of thing there. But OG is correct. Iger has. He's been all right with the parks when it comes to big expansions and so forth. A little bit better at Disneyland than maybe Walt Disney World, but that's a whole other story, right? And similarly here, we're bringing this to Disneyland, and it's like, well, Disney World's like, oh, what about us? We'll get to you. So it's kind of funny how that has worked out. But Tom Staggs was the guy who he was like, hey. If we're doing Avatar, let's not do it at Disney Hollywood Studios, where a lot of the push was coming from. Let's do this in Avatar, taking that long range view, right? That sets up beautifully for Star Wars to be integrated into Disney Hollywood Studios later at a certain point. And now both parks actually have something. This is the kind of the visionary side of Iger that is probably most exciting.
Well, I think it's really quick. Sorry, OG. And sort of like what you were saying, Dre, that, Avatar: The Way of Water is coming to Disneyland, and then Disney World's like, oh, what do we do? It's like, well, you're getting the Journey of Water inspired by my Moana. It's like,
there you go.
There you go. Yeah, everybody's getting water. It's just varying degrees.
Yeah. Be fair to Florida. Can we please be fair to Florida?
Yeah, exactly.